this very exciting episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. We bring to you stories and experiences from leaders, and today we are going to bring to you some absolutely fantastic moments that we'll be sharing with our special guest, Mr. Animesh Sharma, Chief Technology Officer in DeFi, who comes with a rich experience of over 18 years in engineering leadership, management, technical designs, and software engineering experience. He has excellent track record of building highly competitive engineering team from scratch and has been consistent in execution and delivery of full feature deployed quality products. And we're so looking forward to getting to know you. So let me start by first complimenting you that it's so nice to see young leaders coming out and sharing so much with the world, and we have so many youngsters who look up to you. So let me start by asking you that what is that one thing that gave you the perfect kick to really go ahead and reach where you are today?
Thanks, Isha, for asking that question. So I come from a very middle class background, belong to a city named Jaipur, which is not very far from Delhi. My father was is a retired government employee, and I have like two young sisters, wife, married for almost 15 years now. So I've like grown up with playing on the street, watching and playing cricket, flying kites. So that was my childhood, and I've always like dreamed of something big, whether in school or in college. Even in college, that Sabir Bhatia example came in when Hotmail got sold to Microsoft. But that was like a triggering point, or the point where I saw, okay, technology, or this is like something big. And that's got inspired by definitely by that event. And that's how I kickstarted my journey, working across different startups, and where I am today as of now.
You know, you spoke about your formative years, and it's so nice to see you rising and, you know, talking about the wonderful childhood that you've had, some amazing memories that you shared. So I'd like to know, what is that one instant that you would like to share with our viewers that really helped you become what you are today? Somebody that you look up to as a mentor, a guide, or somebody who's helped you sort of bloom into this absolutely fantastic leader?
Sure. So, definitely in my childhood, so I was at average in studies, but I was good in maths and physics, and the credit goes to my father. I mean, who was like very busy in his life, and because wherever he's starting from, so I started. I mean, he was after mine, and I picked up maths too early, and that's how I was like a favorite teacher in my school, definitely on the maths and physics side. So he was a mentor in my early childhood. Then in my college days, or even in my professional career, one of the company where I stayed for almost 10 years, Nextech, my boss, Sharad Singh, who was the CTO for Make My Trip, and now he's running his own startup. So he was my mentor, and I'm still in connect with him. And whenever I feel a professional help, I kind of goes to him. So those are the different folks in my life who has groomed me, helped me at different point in life. And as I mentioned earlier, like staying in a tier 2 city, playing on the ground. So I have always remained grounded, and was able to manage things no matter how many different means are present or not. So playing cricket, even if you don't have a bat in place, you just make anything out of it. So that kind of remains still with me, able to work in a constrained environment, able to work like with a limited resources. And that's like very much required when you are in a part of a startup world.
Absolutely. You know, you shared that beautiful journey and how your mentors have really put together the person that you are today. Similarly, you know, there are so many of our viewers who look up to you and who want to learn from your leadership style. So what is that one message that you'd like to share with all those young leaders out there, or people who want to grow into a person as big as you? So what is that one message you'd like to share with them?
So I always say that when you start, whatever field you start, whether it's technology, management, it's okay for first few years, you go and explore different avenues for sure. so that you know, okay, which field is you really connected with. But after like 3-4 years, try to go deep in that area, right? I always believe in that specialist or the guy who's excellent in something is always valued much more than any other person who has a knowledge of everything. So there's a classic example. My previous CEO used to give Google versus Yahoo. So Google was like amazing search engine, though Google has acquired dozens companies post that. But when it started, their search engine was amazing. Their page rank algorithm and everything, right? And that's what they are good at. Yahoo, which was doing everything, but not being a specialist of one thing. So I always say to young folks, yeah, do try out in first few years, but once you have a liking for something, or this is my future, just go deep. I mean, that will create the magic.
So really follow your passion, because that's what's going to help you grow. Fantastic pointers out there. We would love to know more about your leadership style, and what are those few traits that you feel that help you connect with your team better?
Sure. So in my professional world, I've had more than 250 folks in my tenure, have worked with almost 1,000 of engineers. So I always tries to connect with my team. So definitely the guys who are reporting directly to me. So I do, the first question I usually ask is, yeah, what's your aspiration, right? And what do you really want to be? Do you want to go into management side? Do you have a love for machine learning, deep learning? Do you have like a Android developer? I mean, whatever field I'm in, that's the question I try to answer. Then I know that what's the business need of the company. And then I try to marry the two in the sense, okay, this person is really good in X, and there's a business need for the same. I say, okay, this project can be picked up. So definitely work with the team in terms of their aspirations and what they are looking for going forward. And I do carry personal relationship with my teammates. So I do have even with my previous organization, we do connect once in a year, either on a holy celebration or over a Christmas. So I do carry that relationship, and I value it. And I even go to an extent that if someone is leaving, and I kind of go with the person pros and cons, and if I genuinely feel that this is the right step for him or her, I say, okay, you should go ahead with this stuff, whether you're going for higher studies or you have an offer which is aligned with your goal. Yeah, definitely. So, and I've maintained those relationships even day to day, and I value those, and those folks are across the world.
It's so nice to see how you appreciate your team members, and how you know what really is the talent in them, and work towards helping them grow as well. And that's what sort of brings me to my next question. You spoke about how it's important to have that personal connect with your team. The last 24 months or so have been very, very difficult. A lot of us are still working from home. A few of the offices have resumed work. But in such a scenario, when you can't really meet in person and you're dependent on virtual meets and all of that, how is it that you really encourage your team? How is it that you've motivated them?
Yeah, so definitely last 2 years has been tough. There has been especially the Delta variant. I mean, the last year it was really bad, right? I used to get a call for all kinds of helps, and I did whatever I could possibly over there. Having said that, so we do there are few process we need to follow in terms of having a daily stand up, and that's how you get connect professionally. But not just that, whenever there was the COVID variation, I mean, going down, and there's a gap over there, we do even try to connect, and physically as well. Some of them could not come from your hometown; they have moved to their hometown. But I do try to connect with them physically, or I mean, asking them to come over, or me even sometimes if I'm just passing through that city, I even meet them over there. So I do agree, the virtual doesn't give that connection when you are meeting face to face. Those are two different worlds. But we did try to overcome the same by connecting more often, and not just for the work, even for playing games and those kinds of things we did as well.
Right. I'm so very glad, though, that we get to meet virtually and we get to share all these messages with our viewers, because there is so much that one can learn from you. So on that note, you did mention about how connecting with your team and making sure that they're all right is so very important. But at the same time, it's important to take care of yourself. So I'd like to know from you, how is it that you've been making sure that you have that perfect work-life balance and concentrating on and focusing on your own self?
Yeah. So there's a saying in our like mythology or wherever you say, like first happiness is your health, right? That's what you start with, and then there's like a 7 8 orders. In priority order it goes. The second is finance, third is your spouse, and then it goes. So definitely the health comes first. The few things which has really like have come up really well during this COVID time or this pandemic is the events which were like you needed a physical presence. Now they have moved to a virtual world, right? So I do yoga regularly, and now I have continued doing that even during the COVID time. My teacher is based out of Delhi. I'm in Noida, and even like COVID is, we are almost out of pandemic, but I'm still connected. I know, wow. So that's really taught me that if you look for a solution, you can find it. Like my kids do a virtual gymnastic or a dance class, like as well. So those kinds of solutions has come up, which is amazing. Second is so personally, I do have like a very well connected friend list, and the friends are mainly from my college at IIT Delhi. I mean, we are a small group of 23 folks. We are still well connected. So I do try to plan things in well in advance, right? At least for next 1 month, I do try. Okay, I need to a plan trip with my family, with my parents, with my extended family, with friends, and so on. Like so, my weekends are kind of booked in for next 4 weeks or at least for a month at four. So I do ensure that there has to be a balance between personal and professional life. So I do utilize weekend as much as possible, and second is when like in office dedicated working over there.
Right. So really making sure that work and play get balance out there, and you're making sure that you maintain that beautiful balance. And that's what life is all about, really. There are moments that one is always so very proud of. So what is that one or two accomplishments that you'd like to share with our viewers here that you feel so very proud of even today?
Yeah. So on the best moments I had, or the moments I really still remember. So in my 11th standard, when I appeared for the Maths Olympiad exam, and I was able to crack it and select, and I got a like fifth position in the whole Rajasthan state. So that's the first achievement, and I really feel proud of. And I was recognized in the school, and everything happened. So I still carry that moment with me. Uh, few more happen in college, and another one in my career, in the professional career, where I stayed with a company named Nextag, as I mentioned earlier. So that was the time when e-commerce was booming in the US. It's still not picked up in India, and Google, Bing, Yahoo was the kind of a player at that time, from a main search engines present, and we used to get a traffic from them, and there was a free traffic we used to got. SEO traffic, that's how you call it. So Google realized, okay, they can make money in the comparison shopping engine. Why need to have other competitors in place? So that's our guess, and they kind of changed their algorithm, or they modified their algorithm to move the traffic in a different fashion altogether. So at that time, our like revenue, which was a significant from SEO or Google traffic, it kind of went down. And though it was not asked, but I kind of took that problem with my teammates. We did a couple of experiments, and to everyone's surprise, in a month time, the traffic came back. And so that was like, then all the uploads and rewards and everything happened, followed through. But I really felt, okay, Google being giant, and we were able to crack it, that problem, and that does not help the organization to, I mean, come back on the business and the revenue front, but it really made my day and over there.
It's so nice to really look back at those memories and those accomplishments. But each time you talk about maths and your passion towards it, that's the time when I remember how scared I am of maths, and the only thing that actually makes me run away from. So I really need to learn from you. But apart from that, I'd love to ask you, if I was to maybe shadow you for a day and see what your life really looks for. So what is that one day of yours? And I'm sure our viewers will be excited to know, how do you start your day and how do you end it?
So usually wake up around like 7ish in the morning, and as I mentioned, I do have two young daughters. So it's usually working with them and preparing them for the school, me and my wife. So by 8 o'clock, they take the bus and goes to the school. And from 8 to 9, my yoga class starts, and I like do that. I try to do that as religious as possible, as much as I can if there's no meeting in the morning. And then from 9:45 or quarter to 10, I start my office day. And in the first half, I tries to ensure that I connect with most of my team members. If there's anything pending, if there are any hurdles, I remove those and let them start their day in a fresh manner. In second half, I usually keep it from a strategy perspective. Okay. Or if there are anything I need to learn, or if there is any external meeting happening, right? So there are many times lots of innovation happening in the market. So if there's anything come out from voice to chat to machine learning to anything, I do try to connect. I do keep those meetings in the second half of the day. And then usually evening as usual, have a light dinner, and then I do try sometimes. So I play volleyball as well. So I do play volleyball in the late evening. So that's how my weekday looks like.
Fantastic. So a bit of everything, ideating, waiting, at the same time keeping your personal space intact. Fantastic. So I think it's really been a delight getting to know you as a leader, as a person. And now we'd like to get a little bit of fun and get to see you take this rapid fire. So are you ready to dive in?
Sure, let me give it a shot.
Okay, so you have to choose either or, and very, very quick answers. Okay, so do you believe in shopping therapy or travel therapy?
Travel.
If you were to get a tattoo, would it be impromptu or a well thought of decision?
Well thought of.
Okay, work or play for you?
Play.
Love or friendship?
Friendship.
Okay, money or happiness?
Happiness.
Summers or winters?
Winters.
Jaipur or Delhi?
Jaipur.
The delightful Rajasthani food or Chinese?
Rajasthani food.
Okay, and the final, would you prefer fresh juice or would it be cutting chai for you?
Fresh juice.
Well, I'm so not very glad with this answer. I was hoping you'd pick cutting chai because that's what our show is all about. But I do promise that we're going to enjoy a cup of cutting chai together very soon in person. But till then, thank you so very much for sharing these absolutely fantastic stories and experiences with us. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, Mr. Sharma. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
We're all set to bring to you a very interesting conversation between two leaders who are here to share more about what's happening in the industry, what are the various trends, the challenges and the solutions that one can look forward to. So let me extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Animesh Sharma, Chief Technology Officer, Indify. And let me also present to you Mr. Vikram Mule, Director, Product Marketing, SMB India and South Asia, Lenovo India. Welcome, gentlemen. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks, Isha, for the warm welcome.
Thanks, Isha.
Well, I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Animesh Sharma, what are the top IT challenges that you foresee in the next couple of years?
So with the whole pandemic thing, there's definitely an increase in terms of the technology adoption in place. And many new industries have started moving on the technology front and have started leveraging the same. With that, tons of problem have started coming. One is from the data security perspective. Right? There has been an example in last 1.5 years that pizza player or a wallet, their data got compromised. So I do see the data security definitely will going. It used to be at a passive. It was not ever proactive. but now it has come in on the front side. Now people have started seeing, okay, yes, scale is required, yes, business is required, yes, revenue makes sense, but at the same time you also need to ensure that the data security and all the customer PIA information, those are secured and safe, and those cannot be leaked.
Right, absolutely. And there are various challenges and concerns that one sees on the roadmap of this journey. And here I'd like to ask Mr. Vikram Mule that, sir, what are the various challenges that you foresee, especially in the next 1 or 2 years?
Pretty relevant question, I think, in today's scenario. And as Mr. Animesh mentioned, I think pandemic sort of sets in the perfect context for this question, because if I look at pre-March 2020 and now, I think there's a big difference in the way our customers and most of CTOs are looking at IT deployment, as well as the way we are deploying. I think a few things which Mr. Animesh said, I would like to echo those. But before that, I mean, one is in terms of pure hardware deployment itself, we are seeing rapid changes there. We are seeing a much higher adoption for a hybrid environment, and hence leading to more demand for devices like laptops and tablets versus desktops. I think the desktop demand does stay in some segments, but a lot of new age organizations like Indiva, for example, are ones which are showing much more higher adoption on laptops. So that's from a hardware perspective. The other thing is connectivity obviously becomes a challenge. I think those of us who have employees based in metros, I think it's still better. But the moment you go to tier 2, tier 3 towns, I think that's another challenge, where how do you work with the bandwidths available and also take care of network security. I think that's the second piece. And the third is obviously from a device perspective. I think security was one brilliant point which Mr. Animesh said. I fully echo that. So security obviously is a concern, because earlier the device itself were in a protected enclosed space, which is the office. Now that's going out. So how do you secure data? That's clearly critical. The other is also how do you manage devices? So mobile device management, for example, and the entire device management. That's another interesting trend, which is what we are seeing coming up.
Absolutely. And, both of you have sort of shared all these pointers, and I'm sure that our viewers today agree. But thankfully, we today have processes and tools that are handling all these risks and strategies that are really working on providing solutions to these various challenges that one is foreseeing, especially now in this hybrid world. Thank you so very much. It's been a delight having the two of you on our show, and I'd like to thank both of you for sharing your views with us. Thank you so very much, Mr. Animesh Sharma and Ms. Vikram Modi.